Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicolette Chasse, and I am a member of the Worship and Music Committee. My pronouns are she and they. Welcome to our virtual service with the First Parish Plymouth congregation. These services will be posted on our Facebook page and on YouTube. The first part of our service is recorded. Following the benediction, the recording will end. Then we will go into our candles of joy and concern. This section is not recorded. Our service today is entitled Diners and Beloved Community and is presented by our resident Renaissance man, activist, and all-around wonderful human being, Vaughn Keller. Our technical director is Paul Melville. We hope that you stay for our virtual coffee hour after the service. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever you believe, wherever you are on our journey, let us walk together this hour. Our opening reading today is a reading by the Reverend Hannah Roberts Villeneuve. It was a call to worship in anticipation of Gay Pride Day. However, it is important that this message goes with us whenever we go public to create a beloved community. It is called A Protest and a Party. People sometimes ask, is Pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, yes. And why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are. So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your Supreme Court broken heart, bring your rainbow socks, bring the emptiness you feel for our siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix, bring your tender hope for change, bring your most garish eyeshadow, bring your spirit, tattered and battered by a world that seems insistent on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all these things and bring them here to a place where we don't have to shoulder these burdens or celebrate these joys alone. Come, let us worship together. Please join us in singing our opening hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, as performed by the Oakland Chancel Choir. This may be a slightly different version than what you've heard before, but we invite you to sing along regardless.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, whoever you're leaving, cause it's your caravan, hour is standing, cause it's your caravan, hour is living, cause it's your caravan, hour is standing, cause it's your
Let us join together in lighting our chalice and reciting our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
As I thought about beloved community, I began to consider how many communities I'm a part of. Each one for different reasons. School, First Parish, family, friends, neighbors, and it goes on. The communities I am trying to foster, the communities I don't even know about yet. I have responsibilities in these communities. Each of us do. I'm going to tell you a story now. It's about a student and their school community. Something kept happening. The strangest thing happened to me the other morning when I was at school. That morning I woke up, got dressed, headed to class like I do almost every day. But this day was different. People kept saying things to me. "You've got something on your face." And I replied, no, I don't have anything on my face. The next person came by. You've got something on your face. What are you talking about? You're wrong. I'm not going to listen to you. And then a third person. You've got something on your face. Funny you should say that because you're the one who has something on your face. And again, you've got something on your face. You must be joking. I am an expert face washer. I have studied face washing for years. And again, you've got something on your face. This time I tried a different tact. How dare you tell me I have something on my face? You don't get to play with me anymore. And yet again, you've got something on your face. I have something on my face? What's wrong with me? I'm going back to bed. And again, you've got something on your face. Everybody has something on their face, so why mention it? There's nothing we can do about it. It's always going to be this way. And again, you've got something on your face. I have something on my face? Thank you for telling me. I've been washing it away bit by bit, but I guess some of it is stickier than I thought. I really appreciate your letting me know. Would you be willing to help me wash my face? And together they cleaned away the smudge. When you think about community together and what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, which response do you think was the best? Was it the first one, when I said there's nothing on my face? Was it the one when I told the other person that they couldn't play with me anymore? Sometimes when we are building community together, it's important to think about how we say things. We must do this if we want people to listen. It's also important to listen to what others have to say, even if we might not want to hear it at first. We do listen because it's part of our covenant, our promise to each other. It's part of being open and accepting. There are times when we need to hear news or feedback that causes us discomfort, but in hearing it and responding to it constructively with curiosity and humility, we can more easily go about building beloved community. This is especially true when it comes to feedback about cultural privilege along race, gender, gender identity, disability, sexual orientation, and class. This affects everyone. This story demonstrates the many ways that we can respond, some unskillful, others affirming. How do you choose to listen?
Our reading for today is Maggie's Diner by our very own Vaughn Keller. In winter, the steam on the windows breaks down the frost and tiny rivers begin to flow as the men come in for morning coffee. Hooded sweatshirts, down vests, and a familiarity with one another as common as the clothes they wear. The cold is left outside as talks turn to politics and sports, and always the teasing and the nicknames of years spent together, having morning coffee that gets set in front of you the minute you sit down. There is no need to order here, and any change would bring concern. Waitress Maggie gets and gives teasing with the professionalism of a nightclub comic, and everyone was really worried about her when she wasn't there one morning and her sister filled in, because Maggie was in the hospital having her gallbladder out. She offered to show her 4 tiny scars when she returned, but there were no takers. And the men expressed their relief with a simple, "Glad you're back." It had only been a week, but the world was out of joint and her sister didn't tease much. So Maggie doubled up for lost time and everyone laughed again. Our musical reflection for today is My Own Two Hands by Playing for Change.
I can change the world with my own two hands. Make a better place with my own two hands. Make a kinder place with my own two hands. With my own two hands. With my own two hands.
Qu'a changé mon langue avec des mains moins. Fais un monde qui pis bon avec des mains moins. Fais un monde qui pis douce avec des mains moins. Avec deux mains moins. Avec deux mains moins.
Gonna make it a brighter place. Gonna make it a safer place. Gonna help human rights with my own two hands.
Je veux changer le monde,
Avec mes deux mains,
faire un monde meilleur,
avec mes deux mains,
faire un monde plus doux,
avec mes deux mains,
avec mes
deux mains, avec mes deux mains, avec mes deux mains, avec mes deux mains.
I'm gonna make it a greater place. I'm gonna make it a safer place. I'm gonna help the human race. And I hold you, and I comfort you. But you got to use your own two hands. With my own two hands.
In German, there's a word for what those men who have breakfast every morning at Maggie's Diner are experiencing. I know my pronunciation is going to butcher it, but I'll try. It's Gemütlichkeit. It's a state of or a feeling of warmth, friendliness, and good cheer. These guys belong. They're welcome. They know one another. They talk. Gemütlichkeit. It's captured in the lyrics from a show that we all know, since it's fairly local, Cheers. Just think of these two choruses from Cheers. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. You want to go where people know people are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. You may have your own Maggie's Diner and a Cheers. In Plymouth, when I moved here in 2009, I had this church and that was it. My life here has expanded since then. Now, pre-COVID, when I would walk into Marshland down on State Road, the staff and some of the regulars who sit at the bar would welcome me by name. The same was true at Aroma, also on State Road. Clearly, I don't stray far from Manomet. That I usually sit at the bar always helps. Here at church, when I joined, Jan was chairing the membership committee and made me feel very welcome. A picture went up on the bulletin board in Kendall Hall with our names as a way of introducing us. Over time, I learned that if I wanted to go hear the music I love, I had to find out where Jim Schultz and Dave Yeager were playing. If I want to sell my house, I also go to Jim. Find an electrician, I still go to Jim. Music lessons, want to learn how to sing, I go to Sandy Remley. What was happening? Well, people knew my name and I knew theirs. Let me suggest that Maggie's Diner, Cheers, and this church have a lot to do with our theme for this month, creating the beloved community. We have to be careful though. There are inherent dangers as well as delights at Maggie's Diner, Cheers, and this church. The delight is the experience of Gemütlichkeit. The danger, of course, is that not everyone is included. Exclusion is often as common as inclusion. An example, when I joined First Parish, some folks assumed since I was a newcomer to Unitarian Universalism. One person one Sunday even started to explain it to me. Now, I had already been a UU since 1966 in 3 different churches. Art spoke about this last week, that true inclusion begins with curiosity and open-ended questions. And as we know, again, from being New Englanders, longevity often plays a role when it comes to inclusion and exclusion. On Cape Cod, you might be awash ashore. If you weren't born there, on Maine, you're referred to as from away. Inclusion is essential to the concept of the beloved community. Now, beloved community is a global construct, but it has ramifications for Marshland, Aroma, and this church. This is how the King Center describes this beloved community. Notice the focus on the word all. Dr. King's beloved community is a global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. All people. Beloved community, poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood. In the beloved community, international disputes will be resolved by peaceful conflict resolution and reconciliation of adversaries instead of military power. Love and trust will triumph over fear and hatred. Peace with justice will prevail over war and military conflict. I'd like to think that were he alive today, Reverend King would also speak clearly about other inclusion, exclusion practices, gender bias, LGBTQ rights. All of the elements of the beloved community are present in the King Center's description of the beloved community: sharing, decency, spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood, conflict resolution and reconciliation, love and trust, peace with justice. Let me suggest that the experience of welcome and belonging permeate the beloved community, a kind of Gemütlichkeit on a global level. One of the reasons I've selected music from the organization Playing for Change this morning is that they use their music to create a beloved community of musicians around the world. This is intentional on their part. It's not accidental. This is intentional. This is what they're trying for. Music and Gemütlichkeit have a natural affinity. Also, truth be told, I just love their music. Creating the beloved community, whether in this church or the world, doesn't have to be a kind of super seriousness devoid of fun. As our opening words tell us, we can have protest and a party, or we can have work and a party. A personal story. Since 1977, there have been 8 murders, 17 attempted murders, 42 bombings, and 186 arsons targeted at abortion clinics and providers across the United States. In some cases, a small group of clinics have been targeted multiple times. I went to work at Planned Parenthood in 1973. The same year Roe versus Wade was decided. I was given the overly lofty title of Director of Management and Organizational Development. Basically what I did, though, was I ran training sessions all over the country for the managers of family planning and abortion clinics. Many of us who worked there were drawn to Planned Parenthood for the same reason we had been involved in civil rights movements. We were totally unreconstructed liberals, and that kind of work was the work we did. We had drunk the Kool-Aid of change and believed we could make a difference. In some of the years I was at Planned Parenthood, we were getting hammered with actual or threatened violence. And in the midst of this, I was training executive directors supposedly to be more effective. At times, the disconnect between what I was teaching and what my trainees were doing and going through felt absolutely absurd. What I did, though, was to choose training sites that provided some respite from the anxiety that they lived with day in and day out. My favorite was a guest ranch high in the Rockies outside of Colorado. I revamped the training session and our schedule. We would start early in the morning and work until 1, have lunch, and then go riding in the mountains for a couple of hours. After dinner, we'd have a short evening session, but then we'd sit around the fireplace in the main room of the lodge and we would sing. Someone always brought a guitar. It was that Gemütlichkeit that kept us going. I have wonderful memories of those times. We simultaneously were in a beloved community while trying to create one. I think that's essential. If we are to create a global beloved community of the scale that King talks about, we have to belong to one in order to sustain us. There are a couple of things that happen here. One is that our experience of our own community lets us know that it's possible. It becomes both a source of strength and hope for us. Strength and hope. And this, of course, brings us to First Parish. Do we accept this challenge of being a kind of ambidextrous? Can we both create a beloved community for ourselves and work to create a global beloved community. Both require imagination and work. Now, while I love and I am moved by John Lennon's song Imagine, I'm also aware that it's a song about removal rather than creation. Think of the lyrics. No heaven or hell, no countries or religion, no possessions. Towards the end, he removes greed and hunger, and he asks us to imagine that. It is so critical to vision to be able to conceive of something that does not exist. A global community, a global beloved community, is a positive construct. Can you imagine it? Is it easy if you try? For me, it's very hard work to work towards something if I can't imagine it. Now, what comes to your mind when you think of a global beloved community, or even a regional one, or a neighborhood? Where I sometimes get stuck is feeling like my brain is just not big enough, or it's not my job. Actually, at this point in my life, I often use the cop-out of, I'm too old. That's for younger people to take on. If I'm to free up my imagination, I must first free it from self-imposed constraints. I must liberate myself before I can liberate others. Another story. Before Planned Parenthood, I worked for a couple of organizations in the South back in the 60s. I've always been involved in education. My job then was to teach community organizing and nonprofit management, local action groups. In those days, we always co-trained, one black, one white. Most of our training was done in the basements of black churches. It's where I first came to understand the relationship between self-imposed constraints, imagination, and action. Many, if not most, of the folks we were training could not imagine taking on the powers that ruled their communities. Liberation for me came to mean both liberation from the yoke of oppression and liberation of the imagination. Our training evolved over time to address both kinds of liberation. Were we successful? As with all things, some of the time. When it comes to the global beloved community and imagining it, fortunately, there are a lot of people who have thought hard and deep about it, and I don't have to do all the work. Here, though, is where liberation comes into mind. I have to liberate myself from the restrictions I have placed upon myself if I'm going to be successful in imagining it, so I can get to work. In my experience, both kinds of liberation is work that is best done together. Certainly one element of this is reading and learning and discussing. It is really good to know what we are talking about. As Unitarian Universalists, we are pretty committed to that idea of learning. There is, however, this other much more difficult element, liberating ourselves from the cynical belief that the beloved community is merely a fanciful dream that is a rhetorical flourish from a man who was killed in 1968. We have to liberate ourselves from the belief that there is little we can do. Again, community helps. Perhaps if we liberate our church community from these cynical constraints, it will help each one of us. I don't have any well-formed plan on how we do this. I do believe, however, in intention and in my experience of this community, the First Parish in Plymouth. I think we are truly an amazing group. When we set our mind to do something, we make it happen. At the same time, we are wonderfully human and fallible, and sometimes we do things in fits and starts, and we make mistakes along the way, and we get there. It takes time. Liberation is damned hard work, and there are absolutely no straight lines. I also know that if we're smart, we will take care to do some hardcore partying along the way, and music always helps. I do believe that we can be a beloved community that creates beloved community. Time, effort, intention, and courage. Always courage. And we'll get there if we choose that path. And along the way, may we experience Gemütlichkeit today, tomorrow, and every day.
Freedom and justice is the melody that let us shine on. If you feel it through the music, we can make this world a better place. Freedom and justice is the melody that let us shine on. If you feel it through the music, we can make this world a better place.
Live together, love forever. It's the only thing we can do. I'll be saying we're gonna make it new. Oh, yeah.
Freedom and justice is the melody that let us shine on. If you feel it through the music, we can make this world a better place.
Afrikan, Amerikan, de man är på Don Ben. Asian, European, de man är på Don Ben. Salut, salam, shalom, salut, salam, shalom. Noir ou blanc, rouge ou jaune. Nie pe bokiem, nie pe yale, nie bon. Nie pe bokiem, nie pe yale, nie sac. Nie pe bokiem, nie pe tomada ma.
Freedom and justice is the melody that let us shine on. If you hear it through the music, we can make this world a better place. Freedom and justice is the melody that let us shine on. If you feel it through the music, we can make this world a better place. Freedom and justice is the melody that let us shine on. If you hear it through the music, we can make this world a better place.
closing words are from Cynthia Landrum. Soon we will leave this gathered community, but we won't leave our connection to one another. Our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving, and climb on this train.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, turn around arts, people all over the world, brothers, sisters, around the planet. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on now.
People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train.
The next stop that we make will be England. Tell all the folks in Russia, China too. Well, 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 now, don't you know that it's time to get on board and let this train keep on riding, riding on through.
People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train. People all over the world, join hands, start a love train, a love train.
All of your brothers over in Africa, tell all the folks in Egypt and Israel too. Well, 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 now, please don't miss this train at the station. The station. 'Cause if you